welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I'll be showing you the new way of making RAG agents, showing you why they're better than the old ones, what makes them better than the old ones, of course, and we'll get into what RAG is if you aren't familiar with the term. So let's get into the video. Okay, let's actually get into how RAG actually works and how RAG agents function. So first you would get a PDF file, a Word file, and then you would turn it into a text chunk. And that text chunk would be split into multiple manageable chunks, smaller chunks. Then the embeddings model would actually vectorize those text chunks. And a vector is basically the numerical representation of certain information. Okay, and then after that, we could ask the embeddings model. So this is how the embeddings model actually retrieves information, how that would work. What are the F31 regulations and formula? You would ask it that question, send it to the embeddings model, and the embeddings model would vectorize that question into the vector database and then grab the nearest vectors, basically the most relevant information to that question, most relevant answer to that question, better said. Then after that, after the embeddings model retrieves the information, it will send the three nearest vectors back. So it will grab the three nearest vectors, send them back. And then those three vectors, so the three nearest vectors are the most relevant answers, basically. And then those three vectors would be turned back into the three text chunks, sent back to the RAG agent, and the RAG agent would answer our question based on the answer it's given from the embeddings model. So here's why this way of making a RAG agent is not the most optimal, because let's say F31 regulation is one column in a database. And then the next column would be the actual regulation. But the embeddings model would think, okay, so this is all I need to take. This is the column where F3.1.1 is actually mentioned. And it would ignore the columns under it, which is actually the regulation, and then it would send back irrelevant information. It wouldn't, so basically it wouldn't know how to differentiate which column actually is the F3.1 regulation. So here's why this version of RAG is better. So instead of actually just vectorizing normally, we would actually vectorize with metadata. So then when the embeddings model vectorizes the question, it'll vectorize it based off the metadata. It'll look for answers based off the metadata in the database. So let's say F3.1 regulation has the metadata regulation number F3.1, and then the actual rule would be in the second column, but that rule would have the same metadata, so the embeddings model would know, oh, okay, so these two are linked. I'll send that back to the RAG agent, and then it will answer. And using metadata, you can actually get 20 chunks, 20 vectors with the same metadata. The re-ranker will re-rank those 20 questions instead of just getting those 20 answers, instead of just getting 3, and re-rank the 20 most relevant answers to the 3 most relevant answers. So the 3 most relevant answers out of the 20 most relevant answers would get sent back to the RAG agent, and then you would get an answer. So that makes this system extremely specific and accurate. So let's get into how it works and how to build it. Okay, so this is the workflow for vectorizing a document with metadata. So I'll actually go through it with you guys and show you how it works. So here you would connect your Google Drive account and then put the operations download, and then you would want to download the file you want to vectorize. I would recommend using a PDF, but you can use Word or anything. And I'll be vectorizing the F1 regulations for this video. And then the next node you're going to need is a extract from PDF. So you basically be extracting the text from the PDF. And then this code node is I read this with Claude basically. I told Claude write me a JavaScript code node in N8N that will add metadata starting from each rule to the end of to the start of the next rule. So basically here, I'll open the F1 document and show you actually what I mean by that, just so there's no confusion. Okay, so I'm basically telling Claude, add metadata from here, so F rule 3.1, all the way to rule 3.2, and then add a new metadata tag every rule. So it would add metadata all the way to here, and then it would add a new metadata tag here, and just so on and so forth for every rule. Okay, so let's actually vectorize the F1 regulations. And actually, I'll show you the Supabase. So what you'll do is connect your Supabase account, put operation mode, insert documents, put the table you want to insert documents to, and put the embedding batch size to 200. That's what I recommend. And then you're going to need an embeddings model. I'm using Google Gemini. You can use ChatGPT. And I'll make a video covering like how to properly embed and actually create a vector storage for Supabase and integrate with N8N. So stay tuned for that video. And then a default data loader. So here is where we actually add the metadata to each regulation number. So the code node will be returning this value. It'll be regulation number and then the value. I'll show you once we run this. And then loading that data and sending it into the vector store. So here I'll show you. We'll download the file, extract, code node. Now it's loading the data. Okay, now it's embedding. Okay, and embedded 636 items. As you can see here, the regulation number, F1, and then it would add regulation number. So basically for every number it gets for like the regulation number, it will add this, it would put it into this value. So as you can see, it got the regulation number F29, and then it would add the regulation number value. That makes sense. And then as we can see here, let me refresh. Okay, so now let me explain why this is actually useful and more accurate than just having a regular database without metadata. So as we can see here, let me see F3.21. It only vectorized the just the title, like the rule number, but not the actual rule. So if you were to search for that rule, it would give inaccurate information because it wouldn't know if this text here is a part of the rule, or this text here is a part of the rule, or this text here is a part of the rule. So as we can see here, F3.2.1 has the metadata regulation number 3.2.1, and then under here, this is also part of that rule, but the AI agent would not be able to detect that or be accurate detecting that without this metadata. So as you can see here, regulation number 3.2.1, and here regulation 3.2.1, and then here regulation 3.2.1, and then once we go to this new regulation, regulation 5.1, regulation number 3.5.1, and then so on and so forth. So if that makes sense, we can go on with the tutorial, but if it doesn't, feel free to reach out and I'll explain this in more detail or explain any details that got you confused. Okay, so now let's actually get into the agent and how to set up the agent. So you would do chat message received as the trigger node, and then you would have a metadata formatting agent. So let's say you could make this more broad. For this tutorial, it's more specific. Here, I'll show you. Let me zoom in. So you are a metadata agent. When a user asks for a regulation, your job is to format the regulation number to JSON regulation number. So that's the same value we input it into the metadata in here. And then this agent would actually use the Supabase vector store and retrieve the information. And then here in the Supabase vector store, you would actually put a metadata filter and then add the regulation number that this AI agent outputted. So then this agent would be searching based on that regulation number, and then the re-ranker here, we're all using Cohere. So to set up Cohere re-ranker, go to their website and make an account, get an API key, and put it here. You put the model 3.5 and top end 3. So top end 3 basically means the top, how many top results you want to send back to the agent. So it would be the top 3 most accurate results based on the question. And here you would put the limit and the Supabase vector store to 20. Turn on include metadata and turn on re-rank results. So you could actually get this re-ranker tool. Yeah, so let's try it out. First, I'm going to ask something that isn't even in the document. So this is super accurate. So if I have misspelled, like, let's say this rule. Okay. Now I'm going to ask it a question where it can't actually retrieve the information or that information isn't available to actually show you how accurate it is. Because even if you misspell by a little, it'll say that it can't find that information. So the rule, let's say F3.1.4. Let's just try, what are the regulations for, and then I'll put a dot right there so it'll misspell the rule and it won't be able to find it. And let me just, so retrieve 20. Okay. Now hopefully it will say that it cannot find the answer. Yep, I'm sorry, but I couldn't find any information about regulations F.3.1.4 and the knowledge base. If you have any different reference or can provide more details, I'll be happy to try again. Now let me spell it the correct way without the dot, and it will return. As we can see, details, I'll have to, that here. It's a large block of text. See, now return the actual regulation. And as you can see here, regulation F3.1.4 does not have any text, but under here is actually the text for it. And you can see that it has the regulation metadata. So yeah, I hope that makes things clear. You can find the download for this workflow in my Discord server and the link in the description. And make sure to like and subscribe and comment if you found this helpful or if you have any questions. You can message me on Discord. And if you need any AI solutions built for your business, you can reach out to me and my agency, agentifyai.net, and book a consultation, or you can message me on Discord and we could book a consultation there. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.